You see, men over time change not based on what they see from other men. Men pretty much change based on what women value. So if women value a man wearing skirts, I can promise you're gonna see a bunch of dudes walking around the streets with mini skirts. If that's what it takes to get poom poom in their mentality. And that's the same thing with where we are today. Is that the men that we see today, unfortunately, ladies, is a reaction to you. Because if women didn't like men the way they are today, women pretty much are the ones that select how men are going to behave, and men follow. All right. So we're going to talk about some of the traits and some of the psychology of the modern man. So the first one is that men will be whatever a woman wants them to be. That's the first one. All right. And we really explained that. And the second thing is that men also do not look for celibacy as much as they did in the past. Nowadays, it's normal for a woman to have sex with a guy, to tell a guy they're dating other guys, and for the guy not to see them as somebody who's promiscuous. And the reason why that is because it is that promiscuity is pretty much relative to everybody else. So if you're in a culture where it's average for a woman to have sex with 10 guys in 2 years, as an example, and you're a girl that's been with 15 guys, in that place, you're relatively somebody who is promiscuous. But if you're in a place where the average woman has sex with 30 guys, as an example, a year, as an example, all right, calm down, people. And you're a woman, that same woman goes to that culture, and you're only being with 15 guys. Now, relatively, you are somebody who's pretty celibate, right? You're somebody who has not celibate, who has chastity, right? So chastity, guys in our culture, not in Asian countries or African countries, right? But in the Americas and Europe or Russia, stuff like that, guys are not gonna date. They don't need you to be a virgin, all right? So that's one thing. Understand that. Now, it doesn't mean that you advertise that you're hooking up with a bunch of men, because even though guys like that, guys like women who are pretty promiscuous, but it's only for short-term sex for the most part. The next thing is that a lot of these guys men that you date for the most part online, if you're meeting guys exclusively online, there's a high likelihood that you're trying to get with the same guy that every woman is trying to get. You have to understand is that there's an 80-20 principle or even worse, a 90-10 principle where 10% of the guys get 90% of the women. And 10% of the guys, and then the 90% of the guys only have access to 10% of the women for the most part. But the point is that dating guys online, you're pretty much putting yourself in a difficult position, because if you say yes to a guy, most likely he's the type of guy that most women say yes to. There's a complete and utter imbalance. So those types of guys that you meet online are gonna be more flaky. They're gonna be more difficult because those guys get a lot of dates, right? You think you're the only one that notices that he's cute? You really think you're the only one? And that's why if you exclusively focus online, you're gonna have a tough time dating, because a lot of those guys are desired. Now, if you want to have an easier time dating, lower your standards in terms of looks, and give decent, average-looking guys a try, and see what happens. You're gonna be surprised a lot of the times. If you'd be surprised. If you give people enough time, you end up liking them. If you just judge them based on their character, which goes to the next point. Meeting men in real life is still the best method, because when you meet men in real life, you're not as superficial, right? You have context as to who he is, who he knows, his background. You kind of have some context. If he has a girlfriend or if he doesn't have a girlfriend, those types of guys, for the most part, are average. They don't really deviate from the norm. Guys you meet in real life. They're usually not the most attractive people. They're good looking, but they're not the top 10% on Tinder. They're not the top 10% on online profile. So that's your best bet. And in fact, meeting people online always leads to longer marriages, always leads to longer relationships. Meeting people, no, in person, right? But meeting people online, especially men, usually leads to relationships that are a lot shorter. The second thing is that nowadays men demand way too much from women in terms of their sexuality. And that's why women react to those high standards with them wanting to get bigger butts, bigger cheeks, bigger lips, bigger boobs, and stuff like that. Women are not just doing that because they're going crazy. Women are doing that because they're noticing that men, especially high value and superficially high value men who have a lot of money and power, those are the types of women that they're usually chasing. So women get those cues from top bottom and begin to assume that regular guys want that. When in reality, I could promise you most dudes prefer a girl without plastic surgery. And now if you already have what you have, it is what it is. It's fine. It's not like it's going to kill you. You're still going to find somebody who loves you. What I'm trying to say is that it's a lot better to keep it normal and simple. So the next thing about the modern man is that they still prefer a woman who depends on them. As liberal as they come across, deep down, every man has a conservative attraction towards women who come across as though they need you. It's something primal. It's like every person, one of the reasons why people love children or animals is because they feel needed. It's a deep desire in people to feel like they're needed by somebody else. It's pleasurable. It could be one of the reasons why people have children. So even if you're an independent woman, it's totally fine to have your own job. I'm not saying not to do that, people, okay? What I'm saying is that relatively to all the other independent women, you want to come across as though you need the guy a little bit more. So if you make a lot of money, if you're really independent, you want to show him that you have some vulnerabilities. Maybe you need emotional support more. Maybe you let him know that you're not happy with how much money you make because maybe it alienates people or it makes people jealous, or maybe having so much independence, sometimes you get depressed and you need emotional support. What I'm saying is that a lot of women who are very independent, who are very successful in life, a lot of times they do so to cover up their weaknesses and insecurities. And they assume that if they hide those insecurities and show how independent they are, that men will get turned on. You're looking at it from a guy's perspective. From a woman's perspective, you assume that because women want a guy who's independent. Women want a guy who is 100% assured of himself. And the sad thing, and you could say it's sexist, but guys want a woman who needs them, who emotionally needs their support. Not using them, but that it's a mutual relationship where both of you guys satisfy each other based on your needs, right? So it's kind of like, it's a problem, and I can promise you a lot of rich, successful women, they struggle with keeping relationships because they could be really intimidating. There's a lot of factors towards a successful woman, which I've made plenty of videos about in the past, right? Another thing about male nature is that of today is that a lot of these guys that you're meeting that are super nerdy, super quiet, they're not creepy. A lot of these creepy guys that women say that are creepy, a lot of them just have autism, and they're just not diagnosed. You know the types of guys that talk like this, that are like fall in love really fast, and they don't make a lot of eye contact, and they get really obsessive, and they're really smart and nerdy. That's really I'm not gonna diagnose people, but a lot of times it's just autism. You know, like a lot, and because there's higher levels of autism now than before. So a lot of women are encountering guys who just don't know they have it, and they're usually artists, musicians, actors, anyone in the entertainment and creative field, especially who are very charismatic in real life, on camera, or people who are comedians, a lot of the times they have slight autism, and a lot of times what you think is weird is just somebody who has awkward social interactions. A lot of times, if you actually get to know those people, they tend to be really nice, right? But it's just that humans naturally have a shield against people who show those types of behaviors for the most part, right? So yeah, these are, and also another thing that we need to say about the modern man is that a lot of men nowadays are becoming feminized, becoming more feminine, simply because that's what women are demanding from men. Back then, men were more masculine. Why? Because that's what women wanted from a guy. Right? If you really think about it, the 60s, the guys were more hipsters and more hippie and more free love. After the 60s, it became more masculine from like almost from like the 80s to the 2005, 2000, like 10 or something like that. And then from then on, we have social media. Now people are looking at each other, and they usually do what they call virtue signaling. And as a result, guys change the way they come across to women, and now they're coming across as more feminine. And a lot of women don't like that, but the issue is that guys are reacting to social cues. They're observing that if they actually behave the way that they really behave, talk the way they really want to talk, say the things they really want to say, they will offend women, alienate them, and not have sex with them. So what these guys do is that they choose to come across as more sensitive in order to hook up with you. But what happens is that you make them your boyfriend, but then you end up banging the asshole, right? The guy that you're saying that you don't want in him. And a lot of times they end up having kids with that guy because women have more orgasms with the guy that they're cheating with. And orgasm naturally allows and increases the likelihood of pregnancy. And ironically, women have less orgasms with the men that they're with. Like with their primary partners, they don't have a lot of orgasms. But with the man that they cheat with, they have more orgasm, which says, evolutionarily speaking, that it's a strategy to get the security from the good guy and to get the genes from don't say that to Liza, and to get the gene from the bad guy, quote unquote. Is it a messed up strategy? I mean, I totally understand why people see it as messed up, but in terms of evolutionarily speaking, it's a successful strategy and it has worked. It is what it is, man. All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys ever want to learn how to use your feminine energy to influence people, learn how to use your masculine energy to become more assertive, and also learn how to blend both energies to improve your dating life, your spiritual life, honestly, your relationship life, your family life, your career life, this is the course for you. If I had to make a course for my nieces, I have two nieces, one is 19 and one is 15. 16. Holy shit. Oh my God, he's a bad fucking uncle. He's a bad uncle. Get him. Shut up, Melissa. You should get this course, right? And this is the course that I will make for them. So, for example, watch the curriculum, right? In the first week, we're going to be showing you how to establish a strong masculine foundation without letting it hurt your feminine energy. This masculine foundation is a source of who you are, right? It's your bodyguard. Without this, whatever feminine energy you create will be destroyed by the outside, because your masculine is your shield. So we'll talk about goal setting. We'll talk about how to develop a serious attitude. We're going to be talking about how to use more logic, how to use more goal-oriented behavior. It's more how to be a man. Now the next one is how to embrace the feminine energy, right? This one will teach you about how to minimize excessive masculine traits, developing self-awareness, healing abundant feminine energy, regulating your emotion, mastering voice qualities and facial expressions, surrendering control, and allowing pain to be felt. This is honestly, this will supercharge, like Kaioken, your masculine energy. After that, we have femininity in the workplace and how to be feminine in the workplace without letting people take advantage of you, and the nuances of how women of power should behave versus women who are subordinates in the workplace, and even the dress code. This is based on psychology, people. It's kind of insane. I'm actually excited about this one. The next week, we talk about navigating the labyrinth of male and female friendship. And this, a lot of women find confusing, so we talk about that. And how to identify envious friends, how to identify the good friends, how to keep male friends, and how to keep female friends. Week 5, we talk about how to release the burden of the past and stop and destroy mental projections. This is actually really powerful. And then week 6, we talk about how to increase your observational power so that you can read people better. And we have a bunch of bonuses. The course starts at $99, and you guys can pre-order the course today at $69 before it goes out. If you're watching this, most likely I'm in the meditation retreat, so I will be praying for all of you guys. And just click on the description down below of the video. Right there, you'll see it, and you can pre-order that course. It's gonna be out by the end of next month or the beginning of February of March. One of the two, people, because I have a 10-day retreat to do, and I want to finish the course after the retreat, because I think the ideas are gonna be so much better. All right, man. I'll see you guys later. Pre-order, man. I'm closing the channel.